Moscow is a city steeped in history. From onion-domed churches to the architecture of the Kremlin, the buildings themselves speak to the centuries of ambition, adrenaline, piety, and culture which have made the city one of the most dramatic in the world. Once upon a time, it was almost impossible for foreigners to live here, but since the end of the Cold War, an increasing number of expats now call the city home. We talked to 6 foreigners who have landed in one of the world's most mysterious, maddening, and rewarding cities.
I really thought in the beginning I would stay 2 weeks. It was always dark and gray and snowy and cold, and I was like, what the hell am I doing here? But then I made a decision. Well, this is a big jump, so let me give myself at least a year.
Isaac Correa arrived in Moscow from New York in 1994, recruited by a friend to help start a restaurant chain. Today, he is one of the most successful restaurateurs in Moscow.
I was doing some part-time work in New York in the Bowery bar, and I met this Russian kid. And I told him, Boris, you know, I'm going to Moscow to work, and he told me that I was crazy. What was I going to cook here? And that the mafia would meet me at the airport and rob me.
17 years later, he is still here, though he has had his share of ups and downs. Like many small businessmen, he has had run-ins with Russia's rough-and-tumble business culture. 3 years ago, he says, he was forced out of a restaurant chain that he had started and which still bears his name.
I had some bad experiences as well. Probably I won't get into it in detail. I mean, they're learning experiences, you know. So they say if you can make it in New York, you make it anywhere. I think, you know, definitely if you can make it in Moscow, you probably can make it anywhere.
Alberto Ponte has been in Moscow for 3 years as the representative for a European helicopter maker. Being in such a high-end industry allows him to rub shoulders with the rich, the powerful, and the eccentric.
Doing this sort of business with Russian is sometimes is very funny because they have no limits. The Russian customers sometimes think to finish their interiors, their helicopter, as if they are finishing their apartment or their limousines. They do love using their helicopters to go hunting. In fact, I remember once I was negotiating in a private house of one of these customers. In the meantime, he stand up and he went on the other room negotiating a machine gun.
But life is not all work. Alberto says he has fallen in love with the fast pace of the city and the numerous cultural attractions.
Moscow is not for sure the most self-explaining city. In the first period, without understanding the real dynamics of the town, I was living very much indoor in my apartment, and then I realized that there are few towns in the world that can give you such an opportunity in terms of business, in terms of networking. You will need 48 hours a day to live the life in Moscow.
For many, the pace of change in Moscow is breathtaking. Roland Nash, head of strategy at a large Moscow-based hedge fund, and his wife Sophie live downtown with their 4-year-old son Thomas on a street a few steps away from the Bolshoi Opera.
When we moved into the street, it was actually pretty run down, and then slowly sort of posh shops just kept emerging. And now it's basically, compare it to Bond Street, it's one of the most expensive shops you could ever come across.
So I arrived in 1994, straight out of university actually. I was studying economics and politics, and this is really where, you know, the centre of economics and politics was taking place. It was sort of taking place in real time over here.
It's actually becoming an easier and easier place to live, and so actually we take great joy in the little things that weren't possible to do. Get a good cup of coffee, or you know, sit out on a really nice street on a Sunday morning.
High on the family's list of frustrations is Moscow's traffic problem.
I think the sole thing that would improve everyone's life in Moscow would be the traffic being resolved somehow, but that seems to be almost impossible. The fact that you can sit for 2 hours in traffic going somewhere pretty close by.
Bureaucracy can be difficult to deal with. Sometimes the petty corruption is something that you can be annoying, but you learn over time to deal with these things. I think you've got to come here and try as much as you can to integrate with Russia, and then you get to see the real excitement of being there and the speed at which things change in this country. If you try and stay outside as an expat, you just get the frustration, and you don't get the other side of meeting those frustrations.
I've been here almost for 5 years.
For Daniel and Michela, two young graduates from Spain and Italy, respectively, Moscow is a land of unrivaled opportunity.
Russia is like heaven, because it's very hard to get in and then you cannot leave. in Europe, people are concentrated on saving, but here young people are used to have almost nothing. So the less they have, they are just ready to risk and to invest.
For young people on a budget, however, Moscow can be painfully expensive.
Well, I come from Spain. I was used to going to restaurants almost every day. Here, that's something that I love the city, but I cannot afford to go every day. Also, going clubbing, especially if you go with a girlfriend, you have to pay for her. I don't want to generalize, but it's like the norm here. Men pay and women don't pay.
But they say that the energy and ambition in the city makes it all worthwhile.
Moscow is a city that once you arrive, you don't want to leave. And if you're a single man, if you move to Moscow, you will find very beautiful women. And Moscow has one of the greatest nightlife in the world.
Now, I think Russian people are really deep. I love Russian thought.
Yes.
And I love the sense that you are in a city where you feel that history is happening around you.